So Ricky, it's buffering now, but you should be live in just a moment. And you are live.
Great, everyone. Welcome to our College Council meeting. My name is Ricky Shabazz. I have the honor and privilege of being the president of San Diego City College, and College Council is our highest participatory government. And we have representatives from our campus leadership groups that are joining us today to discuss the items on our agenda. We always like to begin College Council with a roll call so that we know who is here. And so when I share your name, if you wouldn't mind unmuting yourself and identify yourself, and this is in no particular order. Of course, my name is Ricky Shabazz, and I am the president of San Diego City College. Paul Alexander is the president of McLean. I know Paul has been ill. I'm not sure if he's here with us. Moving along, Tilly Chavez, Vice President of Administration.
Present.
Thank you, Tilly. Aaron Deddy, Administrative Representative.
Present.
Dean Robbie Ewell, Chair of Institutional Technology.
Present.
Caesar, Public Information Officer.
Here.
And thank you, Caesar. Let me just publicly acknowledge your great work with the Men of Color and the promotions that you're doing with HUBU. Definitely appreciate your entire team, Kim, Victor, and bringing positive attention to the college and the work that we are doing. Dr. Jocelyn Hill, Supervisory Representative.
Present.
Nadia, President of the Chairs of Chairs.
She had a computer issue and she'll be joining us as soon as that's resolved.
Not a problem. Thank you. Masa, President-elect, Academic Senate.
Present.
Dr. Susan Murray, and I should have said Dr. Masa. Dr. Susan Murray, Dean Institutional Effectiveness.
Present.
Josh, our ASG representative.
Present.
Josh, good to see you. 2 meetings in a row. I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. You know, it's so important to have students. I had a great conversation with the student government yesterday. Josh, thanks for your questions yesterday. I definitely appreciated them. Sean Ryan, Vice President, Classified Senate.
I am here.
Great. Welcome, Sean. Denise Wisenhunt, Vice President of Students.
Present.
Is there anyone that I didn't recognize? Certainly, we have 2 of our wonderful counselors with us today, professors Rashid and Rudy, who are going to talk momentarily about the HUBU conference. And Dr. John Parker is, sorry about that, Dr. Parker. I better put these on so that I can actually see. Thank you, Dr. Parker. My apologies. College Council, again, represents the highest level of participatory governance at our college. I am sharing the agenda for those of you who are watching. Any member of College Council or the college community can put forth an agenda item. You could do so 1 or 2 ways, either by communicating with your representative that is listed here on the agenda, or merely by emailing the president's office and asking for an agenda item to be considered. We welcome that opportunity for presentations and informational items for discussion at College Council. I'm going to skip out of order after we take a motion for approval of the October 6 minutes, which I want to publicly thank Erin. She is working diligently. As you all know, we are down a person in my office, and doing these meeting notes for all of these meetings and agendas is a task in itself. So thank you, Erin, for your support of the college and certainly the president's office. Would someone like to make a motion for approval of the October 6th meeting minutes that were emailed out to you all?
Ricky, I would like to make a motion.
Thank you, Robbie. We've got a first by Robbie. Would someone like to second approval of the meeting notes?
I will second.
Thank you, a brave soul. Thank you, Tilly. All in favor of approving the meeting notes, indicate by unmuting yourself and saying aye. Is
Aye.
there anyone who would like to either abstain or not approve the meeting notes? Hearing none, motion carries. Thank you all. And what I would like to do now is turn it over to Dr. Susan Murray to provide an update.
Thank you, Ricky. I'm going to start with the midterm report and then segue into the IEPI committee review update. So this is our timeline for finalizing the midterm report. This document was circulated last spring, so we are now in fall. Catherine Schaefer, the faculty coordinator for the development of this report, has been working on a draft and compiling evidence. And we are going to be contacting constituency groups in the next few weeks to schedule a first and second reading of that document during November and December. So we are on track for submittal to the Board of Trustees in January. And it looks like the formal action by the board will be taken at one of the February meetings for the accreditation midterm reports from all of the colleges in the district. And then we will be ready for submission to ACCJC in March. So what are we needing to work on? These are some of the tasks that are in progress or outstanding. So I'll start with the in progress ones. We have been working with programs and departments, any area of the college that has defined program outcomes for program review and has a web page on the public website to make sure that those outcomes are on the web page. And if, particularly for instructional programs, those program outcomes are student learning outcomes that are published in the college catalog, what's on the web page needs to align. We've also started conversations about structures for explicitly addressing the advancement of equity within our program review processes. This was a topic at Student Services Council recently, also at MPROC, and we're going to be putting together a group to make some recommendations. The next big chunk of activity that we have is our strategic planning, ed master planning, and facilities master planning activities. We are closing out the 2017 to 2020 strategic plan and are following up with the areas that had been designated as having responsibility to ensure that we have addressed any changes that need to be made since the inception of the plan, either due to shifts in personnel, other circumstances, or some of the adjustments that we have made due to the pandemic and remote operations. Again, just something that we need to capture so that we know how we handled those changes and how they're being documented going forward. And then hopefully you are aware that we are underway with the process to update these plans. Had a forum for the campus in September on the Ed Master Plan and Strategic Plan. There's one coming up first week in November for the community to have input into those plans. And then the Facilities Master Planning Group is in the process of selecting a consultant to work with for that document. Also in progress is our intranet platform for internal communications and documentation. Those were some priorities in our strategic plan, and that's how we are addressing them. And then the IEPI committee review project. So I'll return to that in a second. But there are a couple of things that we stated in either the strategic plan or in our own self-evaluation or quality focus essay that we said we would work on as an institution that still needs some attention. One is defining an internal review process for program review plans and results. We are submitting information. We've changed how we submit information. We're still working on those processes to get that information out and raise awareness and understanding across the college. And then similarly, we have 7 institutional student learning outcomes. We did a round of data collection on all of them and said that the next step would be a review to determine whether we are going to keep all 7 of those outcomes or make some revisions, and then identify how we're going to disaggregate data and reporting as that's an accreditation expectation. So we are developing work plans and timelines for follow-up on those activities. Again, trying to align that with the timing of the report, but also not wanting to rush through things that need to be participatory in nature. And then circling back to the IEPI committee review project, the work we are doing there addresses a number of issues that were raised in the self-evaluation report and comprehensive review in 2017. We have recommended revisions to the college governance structure on the table and that have been circulating since last spring. We are now in the process of identifying which groups affiliate with the 5 city hubs or kind of areas of focus for governance operations, and updating our inventory in terms of who is currently the committee chair or contact person of existing groups. And the members of the work group will be reaching out to schedule conversations in October and November to discuss development of the charges for those hubs and articulate how the existing groups are going to align. So guidance for that conversation has been developed, and MFROC reviewed that and kind of did a test run of that last week. We'll be taking that forward and giving all of the standing committees and councils that exist an opportunity to participate, and then we'll bring that input forward to College Council. So that is the status that we have to share at this point in time, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Dean Murray. What I would like to do is to connect you and Dr. Parker. And Dr. Parker, if you wouldn't mind just briefly providing an update on the facilities piece, because the facilities piece is a part of the educational master plan. And I know you have an update and plan to reach out to the different constituency groups about the facilities piece.
Absolutely. We met with the 2 consultants yesterday and voted unanimously on one of the consultants, which is R&T. They have done extensive work on the campus previously. Sorry, I cannot identify which buildings those are right now. So we'll look to have this consultant approved at the November 12th board meeting, and we'll have them engaged in December, and we'll start working on the facilities master's plan at that point. And Susan, I will be following up with you as soon as you are available regarding the timeline and the implications for the education plan. But I will be communicating what that timeline will look like to the various constituency groups.
Yeah, so what we have in mind is that Dr. Parker will be going around this fall to the Academic Senate, Classified Senate, to get input. Certainly he'll identify which of your reps are on the facilities planning group. But we always want to over communicate to ensure that everyone's aware of the timeline and the process in which we are undergoing, and have an opportunity to weigh in, whether it be through their rep or through Dr. Parker going and making a presentation at your various committee meetings.
I was just going to add, sorry, I think I'm on several calendars already with just a couple more to go. But as you mentioned, Ricky, we will be discussing the process of, it's essentially 3 phases of an assessment phase, the options phase and the decision phase, of which we'll have public forums, workshops, input from faculty and staff to help develop and guide the master plan.
Thank you. Any questions for Dr. Murray or Dr. Parker? Okay. Susan, were you done? You did both the IEPI piece as well?
Yes, that's everything I had. Thanks.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, Dr. Murray, and be well, and send our regards to your daughter. Congratulations on her new position. We're happy for both of you. With that said, we are going to move to the next agenda item, which is something that I have been speaking about for at least the last 2 or 3 weeks, trying to encourage our campus community to support the 10th annual HUBU conference by sending your students to HUBU. Had a chance to talk to the student government yesterday. Actually shot a video on campus yesterday that'll be going out hopefully today or tomorrow with Caesar. And so I'd like to turn it over to Dr. Savage, Rashid, and Rudy to talk about the HUBU conference.
I think Rashid's gonna lead. Rashid and Rudy are gonna lead this effort. Thank you.
No, I think I spoke out of turn last time at the managers meeting, and should have let my elder Rudy speak first. So I'm gonna let him do that.
Rashid, did you just call Rudy old? I don't know if that's going to be
I
a
didn't
good
call
transition.
him old. I called him an elder.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it's relative.
That's just a nice term for older, but thanks. So good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having us. So we're here to just talk about and encourage you guys to encourage your areas to invite your students, your male students of color, particularly Black and African American or Black and Latino Chicanx students to our 10th annual HUBU conference. I think I have, yeah, okay, good. Just wanted to make sure I could share. I'm going to share the website. I'm sure you guys have already seen it, but I want you, if you guys can just share that with everyone to make sure that everyone comes out. Like Ricky said, it's our 10th annual, so we're really trying to make this as big as we can. And I know it's a little bit different because it's virtual this year, but and a lot of people have been saying, well, you know what, it's virtual, maybe we shouldn't have it this year. But to me, I think it's even more important to have it because of everything that's going on, not only because of COVID and the students are kind of feeling disconnected from the campus, but also just everything that's going on with the political climate and Black Lives Matter and just all the ugliness in the world going on right now. I think we need some positive conferences like this for our students that are traditionally pushed out by campuses, right? So we want to continue to let them know that we're here for them. And we have we have about 20 different mentors, both Latino, African-American males, from faculty to administrators to community members. So, and then we have some keynote speakers that are going to be rocking the house, basically, doing a really good job. We have our own Dr. Abdimalik Bull. We also have Dr. Rodriguez, who's the chancellor of the LA Community College District. We also have Dr. Ed Bush, who is the president at Consumnes College. And then we have Dr. Kiki Ochoa, who's an activist and a teacher at Lincoln High School. So let me share I'm going to share the website with you guys. If I can pull it up. Okay. Hold on a second. It's not coming up. There it is. Okay, so the website is here. And I'm going to put this in the chat for all of you so you can share this widely, please. widely and often. And so yeah, so this is our flyer for this year. And it kind of explains everything. It's the mission, our activities, there's different videos. And to register, just click here. There's a registration link there. So if you can just click on that, let me give you guys this link. All right. So that's the link there. So please let your students know, let your areas know about this conference, so we can get a good number of students there to really uplift them and make sure that our Black and Latino students are supported on our campus, and and hopefully we can help them succeed here at City College as we always have. With that, I'll pass it to the youngin, Rashid.
Appreciate it. I see some new faces, so I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Rashid Aden. I'm a counselor on campus. I also coordinate the HUBU cohort. As my colleague Rudy mentioned, this is the 10th annual conference, and as he was saying that, it actually just hit me that I was a student, when HUBU was first getting started. I was a student at City College. I can't believe it. I was transitioning to San Diego State, so I just missed the boat. But I can tell you this, if I was around when HUBU was around, it would have saved me a lot of agony and time and stress, right? I can tell you that in my last 3 years here, I participated in this conference, and I have just so many stories, so many testimonials from students on how it's impacted them, and that's really what it's about. At the end of the day, we're going to have powerful speakers, we're going to have enlightening workshops, but we're doing all this for our students, right? And I mentioned this in the managers meeting, and I'm sure you all know this. And I actually dislike mentioning these statistics and just harken back on this, but the reason we have this effort, the HUBU initiative that focuses on our men of color, is because our men of color, our Black and Latino males, historically have not done so well in college, right? And we know we have a sizable population here at City College, so this is a direct intervention to do something about it, right? Because all of our students matter at City. All students matter, right? And we have to really reach out to our most vulnerable population, right? We hear these terms in our meetings about disproportionately impacted students and DI groups. Those are fancy words for students who have been neglected since the inception of this country, right? So this is really an intentional effort to make sure all of our students are doing as good as possible. I'll let Dr. Savage tell you a little bit more about the history of HUBU, but this is really just a formal invite. I want to make sure I state that. I want to see everybody there. I'm going to be honest. I'm going to be blunt. I want to see all the faces in this meeting come and support our students. And just as importantly, I want you all to reach out to your constituent groups, i.e. your students, any students that you have in contact with, and really let them know about this program, this initiative that's going on in this conference. There are a lot of students, unfortunately, who don't know about HUBU, right? And I take that personally, right? I take that as a failure on my part, really, to that maybe I'm not doing something, I'm not doing enough to reach out. So this is where you all come in. It's really it takes a village, right, to make sure our students. Okay. Should I wait? Okay. So this is a formal invitation. Really, I know we're short on time. I'm going to let Dr. Savage speak, but I just want to say I appreciate you all for allowing us to be here.
Hi, Caesar. Caesar, can you just play the video, please?
Hold on 1 second.
I don't know about you, but I'm tired of seeing my brothers and sisters getting shot in the streets. I'm tired of walking on a UCSD or UC Berkeley or San Diego State campus and not seeing those beautiful black and brown faces everywhere. I'm tired to see the prison populations grow, and modern day slavery plantations being used to profit off of our communities. I'm tired of seeing students getting pushed out of schools at the middle school, high school, and college level. I'm tired of the current political leadership in the country. If you feel the same way that I do, that people at City College feel, then you have to make it to the Hermanos Unidos Brothers United Conference, the HUBU Conference, because we need to unite, man. En la que tú eres mi otro yo, you are my other me. Si te hago daño a ti, if I do harm to you, me hago daño a mí mismo. Si te amo y respeto, me amo y respeto yo. That's the concept that I live by, and that's why I think you all need to make it to the HUBU conference so we can build, connect, and resist. Because the world that we live in right now, tiene que cambiar, has to change. For me, for you, for your familias, para nuestras comunidades, for our communities, for my children, for your children, for our children. Venceremos. We will win.
So thank you for your time. Thank you for Ricky for allowing us the opportunity to promote the conference. And I know that we're preaching to the choir with this group. So we just thank you in advance for your continued support and helping us get the word out to students. And Ricky, I would like to publicly thank you. You just you're like the gift that keeps giving, right? You have been a tremendous support in terms of helping us promote with these drawings and with offering, incentives for faculty to get their students to the HUBU conference. And I just want to tell you that I thank you personally. And I know that Rudy and Rashid and the HUBU committee feels the same. So thank you all.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Dr. Savage, Rudy, and Rashid. We frankly have an obligation, folks, to support this event. This is one of the premier events of this college. There are a lot of community colleges in this country who wish they had a male program for Latino and Black males. In fact, Dr. Savage and I and several others were on a national Male of Color event. One of the first questions was, how do I connect with a college who has one of these programs? Well, we not only have one of these programs, we have the best program in the country. And I'm not just saying that, I've seen them all, and we have the best. And we have the best because we're a campus that believes in social justice, where our Black and brown folks work collaboratively together to increase the success. It's samey, it's not them and us. And there's so many other campuses where that's not the case. And so when Dr. Savage brought to me that the goal was 100 students, I think that is too low. I think that's a realistic expectation, but I think that that's too low. We have 18,000 students, folks, approximately, a little less than that. About half of them are male. So every one of us comes into contact with a male of color, Black, Latino, otherwise, Asian Pacific Islander. All of them should be encouraged to, all of the males, let me be clear, all of the males can stand to benefit from attending HUBU. And so I said it in the video that's going to come out, if we want our males to succeed, then we'll send them to HUBU. And so I challenge each and every one of us, myself first. And so it's very easy to offer $500 to one student and $100 to 5 different students and $500 to the faculty member, classified professional, supervisor who refers the most students to HUBU. This program should have a waiting list. That's how serious of a program it is. I can tell you, we've seen the data, and students who go to HUBU, students who go to City Women Rock, these programs, social justice. I mean, I can just go down the list of the programs we have. We know when students go to them, they live empowered, they leave empowered, and they're more likely to complete whatever program or course of study that they're in. So please join me in supporting the great work of Dr. Nisha Savage, Rudy, Louise, Rashid, and the countless others that have devoted their lives to this. And certainly I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge our great Vice President of Students, who together we're finding ways to support these programs in ways that they haven't. And you all have heard me say it. Let me just say it again for the record. We are living, folks, in the civil rights movement of our time. So if you want to be on the right side of history, we will make every effort to get our males to this program. Thank you all very much. We appreciate it. Any questions for Rudy, Rashid, or Dr. Savage about Hubu?
Yeah, Ricky, do faculty need to register for this?
Yes, you should, because what we're doing is we're going to send, we didn't put the Zoom link on the flyer. So your registration gives us your email address, which there was a glitch, by the way, just putting it out there. Apparently, students who were going in and putting in their email address, it was asking for numerical data as opposed to like an email address. We have fixed that. But yes, Masa, whoever wants to attend, have them register, because we will email them the link to log in on next Thursday.
Excellent. Thank you, Nisha.
I just want to extend a warm thank you to Dr. Savage and Rudy and Rashid. And I think about 10 years ago, what this was and what it has become. And I'm so impressed. The difference I think here is the consistency of the program, that you recognize and continue to support our Black and brown males. We've all seen the data, and if you have not, please take the opportunity to do so, because it's definitely a day of self-reflection and how we can work together. But what are you doing in your own space to promote student achievement for this population? And so I just really want to thank you guys, because you've done, the hours that you put in don't go unnoticed, and we really appreciate your effort.
Thank you too, also, Denise. I would be remiss not to acknowledge that you used to be with me late nights over in the A building, the old A building, working late, coordinating the Hubu conference, and you were one of the biggest supporters in terms of getting the presidents to support funding it. So thank you for your leadership, your continued support, and for always just walking alongside of us as we've been on this journey. Appreciate you.
Great. And I hope moving into the future, if I could just go ahead and put it out there, I'd love to see Dr. Parker get involved in some way. He has an amazing story that I believe our students would benefit from as well, particularly those who desire to go into finance and business. He's also a military veteran. So whatever we can do to get Dr. Parker as a presenter or teamed up with you all, or even to visit Rashid, the Hubu class. I look forward to attending the Hubu class, the Moja class, the Puente class, and I'm sure that others do as well. Plus, Dr. Parker is writing the checks that are getting those computers that I understand are going to be delivered either today or tomorrow. So, if no one's told you all, it's always good to have a friend in finance. So
I just want to share, he's already been at meetings. So he's already he's already feeling it. So I think it's important to share that. Thank you.
Good, great. Any other questions? Hearing none, folks, let's make this 10th anniversary of Hubu, which is well-deserved, the largest one as of yet. And let me also thank real quick, Caesar and Kim. We mailed out, Caesar, over 5,000 postcards about Hubu.
5,400 postcards.
Thank you, Caesar. Fabulous. If no questions, we will move to the next presentation. Thank you all for being here. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Appreciate the time. Thank you all.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
I'd like to shift over to Dean Roberto Valadez, who is going to go over our HSI grant writing team.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for having us here today. I've invited both Adan and Tammy, who will be outlining the different initiatives or the outline initiatives from the writing group. So Tammy and Adan, please take it away.
Thank you, Roberto. And yes, thank you, Roberto. And thank you, everyone. Thank you for the invitation of having us to share the update of where we are with the HSI STEM grant, the institution, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics grant through the U.S. Department of Education. Before we do that, I do want to remind everyone that we're in the middle of Undocumented Student Action Week. You can get the full list of events by the districts, colleges, and continuing education. We're doing a collaboration more so this year than before because of this virtual world on our website at sdcity.edu/dreamer. And all that information is under the tab upcoming virtual events and programs. But regarding this grant, if funded, it will run from October 2021 through September 2026. A group of faculty, staff, and students have been meeting already. First, we met to revisit the initial grant that was focused on HSIs only to ensure that we included those voices and the work that was done at the end of the fall 2019 semester. Then we shifted over the summer to the HSI STEM component because that was the update that we received from our consultant that was the next application. So the initial brainstorming efforts really identified a need to reimagine how City College can best support Chicanx and Latinx student success in STEM, primarily building already from the success of current programs and models, while also taking the time to research and investigate new options and opportunities to intentionally create equity-minded efforts, since this is a developmental grant. Through those conversations, we want to ensure there is a strong focus on uplifting the Chicanx, Latinx student experience in STEM. And we're looking at a framework that Dr. Norel Martinez really introduced to the writing group titled the Traditional Ecological Knowledge, as we want to integrate cultural responsive components throughout the different areas of the grant. We're now in the phase of where we're meeting with key stakeholder groups. We've met with the Executive Council, now the College Council. We've met with some of the key deans that this is going to fall under, and we're going to continue to do multiple presentations to get everyone in the loop and ensure everyone gets to see this application before we submit it. And we're looking at potential collaborations to see what components will ultimately be added to the grant application. We're still not sure yet. We haven't received a deadline for it, but just based on previous grants, we're looking at sometime in early 2021. And so luckily we have Tammy, who's been working with us in the writing process and the timeline with us. And so she's here with us today, and she'll take over in the overview of the activity overview. So I'll share my screen then.
Okay, thanks, Adan. Yes, so it's certainly exciting that City College can apply for this grant funding through the Department of Education. I know that you currently have a Title V grant, which is a Hispanic Serving Institutions grant. This grant is worth up to $1 million a year for the 5 years, so it's a significant opportunity. And as Adan mentioned, we're still refining those ideas, meeting with stakeholder groups, but we'll just share some of the components that are on the table right now for this grant opportunity. It is development work, so it's new work. You can't fund what you're already doing, so it's doing something that will strengthen your institution. Component one of this grant project, as we have it laid out right now, really focuses on collaboration with your Chicanx and Latinx studies faculty and your STEM faculty with this idea of pairing courses. And so you would do some work creating that system, looking at how you can have a cohort model, pulling learning communities together with STEM and your Chicanx studies courses. And so then you would pair it with different STEM courses each year. We're still refining this list of courses. I've put some courses out here for discussion they have high DFW rates. So these are courses in which you have high failure rates, and that it would be their introductory courses within those STEM pathways. And so it would be something to do some work over the 5 years of the grant to strengthen and improve your success rates in those courses to help get more students and particularly your Chicanx and Latinx students through the STEM pipeline. So that's component 1. Component 2, and then Dawn, if you could scroll that up. Component 2 really focuses on strengthening support for your students, and everything has an overlaid approach that's really focusing on what you need for your Chicanx and Latinx students. And so there's several different aspects to this that we're still working out. We're wanting to do some work with some new spaces and some ideas that are being investigated right now, or what can you do with creating a STEM student center? How can you collaborate with your existing MESA program? What spaces do you already have that maybe you can upgrade, or you can equip them, you can renovate them? There's been discussion of wanting to have a maker space where students can work together and collaborate, working on STEM projects. There's been a discussion of needing more individual and group study spaces. They've been looking at some spaces perhaps within the S building. There may be other buildings as well. And then just lab upgrades, having not necessarily the facilities, but just lab equipment. What can you get that will help make this, really support STEM student engagement? And so this grant can fund infrastructure. And so we're looking at some of those infrastructure needs right now and investigating those options. And those infrastructure updates would support the student success strategies that you would have under component 2. And that would include some student preparation and engagement activities. There have been a lot of different ideas for different preparation and engagement activities that you could have. And so we're looking at having a focus area each year, and that you could build it out, starting with some just foundational STEM student skills, their academic preparation, maybe a summer bridge or an onboarding session that would help brush up those academic skills, but also give them just those foundational study skills that they would need as a STEM student. We've talked about student faculty connections, having student faculty mixers, having chances to do lab tours and really connect students to the resources that are available at City College. We've talked about a need for career pathway focus, maybe bringing in some speakers, letting them see STEM professionals of color, letting them make those connections. And so having some events connected to that. In year 3 and year 4, there was discussions. We had students in the group and they were saying, well, what do we need to do to be prepared to be able to take the next step? So we talked about connecting them with research opportunities, connecting them and preparing them with professional skills. And so doing some work in that area. And then finally, doing some work with transfer. This program is a STEM and articulations program. You have to have a focus on transfer. They're really wanting to see the pipeline, getting students in, through, and on to the next step in that STEM pipeline. So those are some of the ideas. And again, we're still refining ideas in connection to the activities for this grant, but that's some of the student success strategy ideas. This grant can also pay for internships. And so paid internships, there'd be an opportunity to connect STEM students to those internship opportunities. And we've been hearing that maybe doing some work of identifying those opportunities and coming up with a more systematic way of connecting students to them would be something that this project could work on. And we've also talked about strengthening academic support, specifically for your Chicanx and Latinx STEM students. We just had discussions last week, and so I updated this overview to show that we're still in that brainstorming stage on this piece and where it needs to go. We know that there needs to be more training for tutors. That's what we're hearing. And they would like to have, as we met with your tutoring coordinators, they'd like to do more on the front end with study skills and growth mindset. And there was discussion of language barriers, that for STEM students to really be successful, there needs to be more done to help them overcome their language barriers. So we're still brainstorming of what exactly do you want to develop? What do you want to do to address those issues? What are the best practices? So we're doing some research. We're looking at model institutions and coming back together to lay out that development sequence for the academic support and how it can dovetail and connect with the other pieces of the proposal. And then finally, for component 3, we have a strand that's focused on counseling and really doing some work. When we met with the counseling department, there needs to be more work and more professional development and training on counseling for your Chicanx and Latinx students. And then there also needs to be some work on mapping the pathways for STEM students so that they are prepared, and so that advisors, as you have general advisors, that they're each prepared with that map of what they need to be, how they need to be guiding students to get them through the programs at City College and prepared for transfer ultimately. And so again, this is a working document. We continue to refine it. We continue to refine the ideas as we meet with different stakeholder groups to reflect that development work that will be happening over the 5 years of the grant project. Are there questions about the activity at this point?
Can we stop sharing the screen so that we can see one another? Great, thank you. Any questions for Dr. Sanchez or Tammy or Roberto? Yes, Masa.
Towards the end, you mentioned mapping and advising, and that seems to fall under the Guided Pathways framework. Have you guys considered working through a pilot, use this as a pilot for a greater campus model for Guided Pathways? I know advisors is a very sensitive word for many of our counseling colleagues as well. Have you had a chance to talk to them about that?
Guided Pathways did come up in our discussion with the counseling department, and it seemed that, from what I was understanding, is that there was a preference to continue with more generalist counseling. And I will use the word counseling. I apologize. I'm used to advising. I will use your institutional term. So it seemed that there was still that focus on more generalist, and that if there could be some work done to map that and have resources available, that it could be shared then with each of the counselors.
Yeah, and if I could, what I have requested of Tilly is a concept paper that builds in the importance and the data related to the success rate of students who enroll in an ethnic studies class while at the same time enrolling in a science class. There is an abundance of research out there. And to your question, Masa, we have absolutely had a conversation about counseling. Now, the term advising really should say academic advising, because that's a term that the granting agencies require when you talk about mapping and making sure. So the discussion amongst counselors and advisors is more paraprofessional in nature, where this is a discussion about an actual process of providing academic advising to students in the sciences so that they know the different options and course patterns that they need to take.
Thank you.
I did want to say that I do think it's important that, as Tammy suggested, that this is in the state that it is in right now, that there's work being done. And so, definitely listening to the input that's shared today and in other spaces, but the direction and the great work that Tammy and her team, the Munsell company has done to support us, as well as the great work of Dr. Sanchez and Dean Valadez has really helped kind of guide this, the work that we've done. But I wanted to say that it is in development, but there's just so many great things. The integration that Dr. Shabazz has made in regards to the course offerings from a Chicanx perspective with science is phenomenal. So we look forward to the great things that are happening under the leadership of the people that are involved.
Well, I look forward to you taking this along with the concept paper to the Academic Senate and the other spaces that you all are going to present to. I would ask that you come back and frankly, I think when you go in those spaces, you should ask for a vote so that we have it in writing that folks are in support of that we're writing this grant, right? Because a presentation alone doesn't give people to provide feedback and to capture it in writing that folks actually approve of this effort. Now, certainly you all did a great job of identifying representatives of constituency groups to serve on this writing team. It would also be good to highlight who those people are so that when you come to a place like this, you can identify who has been assigned to the writing group. You did say some names, but it would be good in that concept paper to have who in fact are on the writing team. So I would ask that that be considered and that you all come back in December after having had the Academic Senate approve the concept and the Classified Senate approve the concept so that then College Council can approve the concept. If there are no other questions, we will move on the agenda. Thank you all for coming. You all are doing wonderful work and really look forward to these efforts. They're necessary, particularly in an environment where we're in declining resources. This is an opportunity to bring millions of dollars to our campus. And this is an opportunity to possibly have some summer science boot camps that we know as students transition either out of K through 12 to us, or they've just been out of school for a while and need some refresher in math and science to keep them toward completion. So thank you all. We look forward to seeing the finished product.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving along, I think we've gone over everything on the agenda. I will open it up for any announcements or questions for the good of the order. Are there any announcements that any of my colleagues have?
I do have one, Ricky, if I may.
Please.
I have sent out on the CDDL an event hosted by Faculty Association of California Community Colleges. It is a part-time faculty symposium that is taking place on November 6th and 7th. And please check your email. And if you're interested, please attend. It is a free event hosted by FAC. Thank you.
Thanks, Masa. Any other updates or announcements for the good of the order? Okay, well, let me encourage everyone, because I don't think we are going to meet again. We may meet again prior to the election, but I think actually our next meeting may be the day before the election, if I'm not mistaken. But in either case,
Actually, it's on election day, Ricky.
election day.
Yeah.
Well, let me encourage everyone to vote. There are a number of items before us that will have an impact on community colleges, our students, the community at large. So thank you, Tilly, Masa, Jocelyn, for having that great background. And thank you, Kim and Caesar, for making the background. I am going to drop off my ballot tomorrow. Thank you to our governor for allowing us to vote via mail, which is something I've always done, as a matter of fact. So please vote like our lives depend on it, because certainly our funding does. We had a meeting on Friday with our adjuncts. Thank you to everyone who attended, or as I should say, our part-timers. Want to thank our Vice President of Instruction, our faculty leadership, our part-time adjunct representatives, Bobby and Jessica, who joined us for a very timely discussion. We know that due to the state budget matter that we are in fact reducing the number of sections, and our adjuncts are impacted. My heart goes out to them. We've worked with the AFT to secure benefits for many of them through June, but the next 2 to 3 years, folks, is going to be a lot of uncertainty in terms of funding. I hope our elected officials in Washington, D.C. get their act together and stop this political posturing so that we can, in fact, have a second stimulus. There's a request on the table for $40 billion for colleges and universities. Let me say we need that. We need that money. We need the support because our regular budget doesn't support the resources that we need to continue to teach remotely, that we need to continue to offer PPE and clean the campus. Thank you, Dr. Parker. I saw the pictures of the farm behind the library being cleaned up. I mean, there's a number of things that we could use some resources for. Made an announcement that we're going to provide laptops. Thank you, Dean Yule. I understand they're going to be here today or tomorrow so that every student in Puente, Umoja, and Hubu who doesn't have a computer will get one. We have students who need computers. We have employees who need computers and Wi-Fi hubs. None of us could have predicted that we would be operating in this condition. And so there are a number of items before us in the election that require your attention. Certainly, I'm not here to tell you how to vote, but I should say vote in your interest so that we can have the resources necessary to continue to do this great work. Tilly, were you going to chime in with something?
I was just going to ask real quick if, Robbie, do you have a update on that scanner?
Sorry, Tilly, I couldn't quite make out the sentence.
I was wondering if you had an update on the scanner for Lori.
I've been asking about the scanner for, I believe it's anthropology for some time. So it sounds like it's here.
Sure.
So Tilly wants to just make a public announcement that the scanner for Lori and anthropology sounds like it's touched down.
The scanner has landed. It is here, and it's a very unique item. We've already been in touch for a Thursday pickup with the end user.
That is great news. And for those who are watching, Dr. Parker put out an email on Friday. Dr. Parker, you want to go over that email just once more, if you don't mind?
Thank you, Robbie.
Is that the CARES email that you're referring to?
Yes, sir.
The request form? Yes, please. And actually, I received a follow-up email that I excluded the dean's signature on that form. So it needs to go from the requestor to the dean to your VP and then back and then to me. It's routed to me with the current quote within the last 30 days. And once I sign it and send it back, that quote, actually that approval should be uploaded with the requisition into the system. So we're keeping track. This will help us keep track and to manage the CARES funds going forward. So thank everyone for your consideration and assistance.
Yeah, and this is another area where we need help from our campus leaders. You know, every time I go into a meeting, I encounter someone who says, how can I get a computer? And we've emailed it out. We've actually shot a video. We mentioned it in our college council meetings. And so we've set aside $250,000 to help support. And if you combine that with the instruction technology funds, it's actually close to $500,000 that we set out to support with technology. The thing is, we don't know what we don't know. And the second piece is you have to get approval before you go and buy something. There is a process. Robbie and his team have to make sure that it meets the specs. We've already encountered some folks buying things that didn't aren't able to get on to our various softwares. And so that's why the form is so important. But we do want to make sure that if you have a need, that we communicate that so that we can get you the things that you need to be successful for our students. This is about supporting students, and in supporting students, we have about an additional $19,000 that Dr. Parker is going to be researching what we can do with that money. It came to us from the San Diego Foundation. And if at all possible, we expect to put that $19,000 in the hands of students one way or another. And I'm so pleased with the San Diego City College Foundation, our scholarship office, Sylvia, and others, Denise Wisenhunt, who have been working tirelessly, the financial aid office, and the work that they're doing to get money in the hands of our students. We've given out close to $2 million between scholarships and CARES funds and additional funds that we've raised. So we are working tirelessly. Matter of fact, in the coming days, I'm going to be announcing via Caesar a family who approached us in the community who wants to give out a specific scholarship for Black students. And so we are working. Great job, Yin. We have a new executive director for the foundation. She is out there hitting the pavement, raising funds for our students to support the great work that's going on at City College. Any other announcements or questions for the good of the order? So Sean, Jocelyn, Masa, if you all have people in your units who need something and they haven't filled out that form, at some point, until we get a second stimulus, those resources are going rather quickly. And so please take that back to your areas to let us know. And Robbie, kudos to you and your team. They have been on campus distributing laptops, swapping out laptops, updating laptops. And so there are so many great things occurring. What troubles me or keeps me up at night is what I don't know. Who needs something that I'm not aware of? There's a back order of computers. Robbie, Roxanne have been doing an amazing work to get those things here. And in the coming weeks, in the next College Council meeting, Dr. Parker is going to be talking about a strategy for reopening. And that doesn't mean we're going to reopen tomorrow. That doesn't mean we're going to reopen in January, but we absolutely need to begin the discussion of what reopening looks like. What supplies do we need? What support do we need? And so we'll be talking about that in 2 weeks on Election Day. Thank you, Aaron. And so with that said, if there are no other comments for the good of the order, Jocelyn, were you going to say something?
I was going to comment about the reopening. Are you guys also looking into our air conditioning systems, filters of that nature that involves the reopening plan?
Tilly, do you want to chime in on that? We've actually already done that. Tilly, do you want to?
So far, because I approached that, I think back in the early summer, Ricky, I think is when we were talking about it. And I've reached out to our district office, and I know people talk about special filters, etc. But as things change every single day, we're just trying to be on top of that right now. At this moment in time, it's not required for us to have any special types of filters, but I'm still just working with the district office, and I'll work with Dr. Parker as well. That'll be part of the plan. It'll be addressed in there.
Yeah, and I can assure you, Jocelyn, when we say opening, we're not talking 30 students per class. We're talking first, the county has to allow us. We're talking somewhere between 8 and 15, depending on the size of the space. We're in the beginning discussions with theater and dance about the likelihood of those courses being taught outside. So we're talking about a whole new reality in terms of teaching to address that we're in a pandemic, and we will not have 30 students in a classroom confined. That's not smart. We've seen colleges and universities try to do that, and people are contracting COVID. It is real.
And if I may, we also will watch the county updates every Tuesday. Today, we barely screeched in to stay into the red tier. I think technically with our numbers, they could have put us back into the purple, which means everything's closed again, right? So we really have to watch those carefully. And if you don't mind, Dr. Parker, I'll jump out there and say, if we end up in that purple tier, when people, normally come on campus, some people will come in to pick up stuff, drop off. That would be a no during that time period. So I just want to be clear about that, that if we're purple in the county and the city, then we're purple on campus too.
Yeah, and we will absolutely, folks, use science and the available information from the CDC and the county before we make a determination. But that doesn't prevent us from planning. What I'm talking about is planning, putting things in writing, getting people's sentiment. Dr. Parker will pull together a group of the constituency groups via his committee, the review of service, to begin that process. We're fortunate to have Dr. Parker because at his prior college, they had already done a plan and they are in fact open. So he has a good template to begin with. But we know that there's plexiglass that needs to be installed. I mean, we know we've got some work to do, and so we want to do that work right now. But I don't want to scare anyone, Jocelyn. We're not talking about returning like we operated prior to March. And so Dr. Parker in the next meeting will go into like a 60,000 foot overview of like what's a starting point with phasing people back in, rotating days, X number of people on this day, X number of people on that day. We want to begin that discussion so that when or if we can return, that we're prepared to do so. And of course, we're going to consult our unions and our constituency groups.
And student services, how, because counselors in particular, the one-offs, they can't really do in a combined space. So thinking about the service we provide for students, not just instructional.
No, it's the entire campus. That's why it's being housed with Dr. Parker, because there's a facilities element to it. His committee has representation across the campus, and he will be coming to all of the constituency groups. So rest assured, Jocelyn, I know you're in student services, but when we're speaking the entire campus. We have to take everyone's livelihood at heart when we make these decisions, which is why the decisions is going to rest, or the group discussing it on the specific side will be in Dr. Parker's area, but he is going to absolutely visit all of the areas of the campus to get input on that, which I'm sure he did at his prior institution. They didn't leave student services off. I promise you that.
Well, trust that student services is actively involved in this whole discussion. I'm being quiet, but no worries. And also that it's when he said it's broad representation. So it also is not just classification, but different sectors of the community are engaged in that discussion.
And we wouldn't have it any other way because that wouldn't be the City College way.
I had no doubt.
That's okay, Jocelyn. You wanted to hear me say student services, so I got it out the way. Student services.
Go student services.
Yes. One college, folks. We are one college working to help our students in our community. And so if I leave out an area, charge it to my brain and not my heart. But we wouldn't dream of leaving a single area out. And student services is a big part of it, as you also heard Masa bring up the advisor counselor matter. With that said, are there any other announcements, questions for the good of the order? Hearing none, you all be safe, be well, and we will see you virtually in the next Zoom meeting. See you, everyone. Take care.